Cool. We are alive. Alrighty, y'all. Hi, Max. We have 20 juicy loot boxes to open. So let's get started, shall we? How's it going? Okay, we have all duplicates. Alright. We have a legendary? Yes! Thank you for the lurk! We got the hard light mercy staff! Yes! This is great. I'm happy with this. We can equip this for a little bit. We'll throw this on for a little bit. Just a teensy little bit. 20 juicy. No. That would be inaccurate. It's 22. And then we have the duplicates for the rest. Sweet. I'm happy I got the hard light. Thanks to Portal. Okay, all duplicates. All duplicates. Alright. I don't know about you. Yes, what? This is new. We got a weapon charm. And then, you're feeling 22? Oh my god. The rest are duplicates.
No, I do not want a banana.
Okay. Thank you, Winston. All duplicates! Goodness. Okay, we got 2 new things so far. All duplicates. Next box. All duplicates. Good lord. We got a third thing. Alright, this is our third thing. Alright, those are all duplicates.
Right stuff.
Next box. All duplicates. Oh my god.
Work the graveyard shift.
Who has cookies? My brother brought me cookies. My brother brought me cookies that he made with his girlfriend. I guess I can call her girlfriend now. They are cakey. But the taste is good. It's just the texture. The texture is cakey. But he told me that they were short a half a stick of butter, so I don't know if that's why. But they're cookies made with butter. I love cookies made with butter. A great barber. Listen, that's not my fault. He showed up with his dirty ass hair, and I worked with what I had, okay? I was working with what I had. It's not my fault. He should go see an actual barber if he wants. This is ridiculous. All duplicates. Next box. Ooh, legendary. It's ugly. This is what I got. It's not horrible, I guess. Said for him not to wash it. Well, here's the thing. Like, when he washes his hair, he doesn't, like, get enough water in there. So there's, like, dry patches. Her hair isn't great. The best part maybe is this right here. Okay, and then the rest are duplicates.
You learn something new every day.
He also didn't know what he wanted. I got something new. Just wearing hat, there's not much hair. Fair enough, I guess. But yeah, he didn't know what he wanted. He didn't know what he wanted me to do. Duplicates! Next box. Poop box. Hello, Cairo. I've gotten 4 new things. This is my 5th new thing. It's alright. It's not great. And then the rest are duplicates. Oh! Something new! 6. We have 6 new things. Beautiful. How are y'all doing today? That was a wicked Symmetra skin. I got that in a loot box recently. It's a World of Warcraft one, I think, type. Okay, these are all...
only trying to help.
These are all duplicates. This one I have, equipped. Oh my god, I got slapped. Oh, I got dance. Let's go. I got a dance emote. Oh my god, I'm getting smashed. Look at him go. Look at him dance. Woo, shit, bitch. Break it down. Okay. And then I have, the rest are duplicates. I have this one equipped, apparently. Oh, bonk. I've been double bonked. Oh my god, so many bonks. Alright, 2 more of the regular, and then we have 2, epics. All duplicates. Oh my god. Beautiful. The last one. All duplicates. Okay. The last 2 that I have. A rare position. Oh my god. That's not dink dong, that's ding ding ding. I don't know. I don't know what dink donk is. Blame Tangia. Oh my god. Alright. First epic. Give me something good. I got a vial. Let's go. Okay. Last box, y'all. Well, I do know. I got a legendary. Oh my god. I got the Empress. Wow. Her hair is something. It's she's got these like hip things. It's very golden. The rest are duplicates. Okay.
What's an aimbot?
Alright, well, that is it for our boxes. I was saving up for a while there. How are you perpetually sleepy? Because I am. I'm sleepy. I'm drinking coffee today. Drinking coffee today. I need to get this legendary still, but I need to do the challenges. Well, I'll be doing them as I can. It took forever. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this win 3 games of Stadium as any tank hero. I don't think it's gonna happen, y'all. I'll try, but it's gonna be rough. But yeah, I need to win one more game is coffee. Yeah, coffee. Doing nothing all day and drinking energy drinks is exhausting. I don't drink energy drinks anymore, Cairo. Where have you been? So I need to do this one. Oh my god. I need to do this one. I need to complete 10 more games. And then I'll probably have to queue as all rolls in order to get this. But yeah. Coffee is not an energy drink. Please. That is not true. There's decaf. Decaf coffee is still coffee. What is decaf coffee? Huh? Explain that. I don't know if the green looks that great. I think that looks better. I don't have enough monies for the galactic one though. That would look even cooler. But I'm 1,000 points short. Hi, Neva. Hello. I didn't hear your trumpet.
No, I entered without.
Oh my god, I can't believe you. You were live on stream. I was opening loot boxes, but I'm done, so it's perfect. Ah. Really, Candy's hiding Neva from us? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not hiding him.
I've been here in the green room. Been told to come on just now.
Oh my god. Pound, how are you? It's like really quiet.
OBS.
I'm gonna turn him up in here. Discord was like all fucked after the crash that it had.
Oh really?
Yeah, all my volumes were fucked. I had to adjust
Oh,
like
that's
every
always
single person. Yeah.
no.
Side.
I wasn't even sure I would be able to do stream today. I
Oh
lost
no.
internet
Oh my
last
god.
night and I didn't get it back until like sometime today, I guess.
Okay.
So we're good now, but I was a bit scared.
I'm glad it worked out. Though the universe wants us to play Final Fantasy, it's gotta be. It's gotta be true. Palin, we were not talking about that. Palin, you do not suck.
What?
You're a ray of sunshine.
What
Please,
is
Neva,
happening here?
please tell Palin that he is a ray of sunshine.
You're a ray of sunshine, please.
The universe demands Tifa Booba. Yeah, her boobs are already popping out, even though I've covered them.
Are you still oogling?
Like, look, they're
Andy?
just
Really?
they're bursting out.
I can see you staring.
I'm not staring. I'm showing the people like this is what happens.
When you have
Yeah.
booba, people stare like streamers.
Yeah, you're the pervert.
Yeah, I'll stop now. Huh?
Chat's the pervert.
Chat's the pervert. Yeah, I can get
Cairo in particular. I gotta remind myself about all my stuff. Oh my god. She has slots open. Killing me.
Okay, so title's good. Start OBS. Hope everything's just set perfectly.
Hell yeah.
Your audio from Discord works. Game is working. Mic is
Just
picking up.
beautiful.
Oh, I'ma just press start. Find some music and
Oh, I don't have my music on right.
yeah.
Let me change my fucking camera border text. Ridiculous. Let me start our shared chats. it's not connecting. Refresh. Oh, it doesn't look like you joined the shared chat yet.
I might have forgotten to.
That's okay.
Everything went so fast.
I know, I'm sorry. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault.
I got my tea. It's just like sitting there being ready right now,
Good,
shortly.
good.
Because I saw you sent the link and I was like, huh, that's a bit early.
A bit early.
It's not
What do you
really. It
mean?
was just I was playing Fortnite.
Oh, you were playing Fortnite. What
God.
were you playing? Oh my god. I got clipped.
Where is it titled Candy Perk?
Yes, it is.
Obvious, it's
that.
the chat that's the perk.
It is. That's what I keep saying.
Alright. You're ready to go?
Hell yeah. I'm just equipping what Luffy with the what's it called? Stuff. Accessories. Propane accessories, and I gave mobile users a rare treat, you son of a bitch.
Wait, ads on mobile?
No, probably just like zoomed in to Tifa's boobs, if I had to guess. So,
Nice.
deliver a shell. Okay, I'm doing that. Okay,
I
just
don't
finished
remember what
that.
we were doing.
We just finished the Moogles.
Alright.
I still have some of this area to explore. I don't know how much you have left.
Oh, I have a lot left to explore.
Oh, okay. Alright.
But I see what's in this area and I'm looking forward to it. Can I deliver this thing now? Oh, the shell things. Yeah.
Lazy. Your blister popped, now you have a hole in your toe? Damn, try it. Make sure nothing gets in there. Keep her clean.
I mean, how big is the hole?
Why do you want to know?
I mean, a hole's a hole, you know?
I see.
I'm just matching the chat's vibe with the...
Oh yes. The chat's vibe. Right.
Yeah. Woo. I actually showered for stream today. I managed to already
Nice.
make the full proper meal.
Oh good, me too. I ate food.
I had Mediterranean style chicken.
Okay. That
It
sounds
was
good.
so good. Holy heck. I made 2 portions, but that didn't last. I was supposed to save
Damn.
a portion for tomorrow, but it was so good. I ate it all.
For dinners or for lunch or something?
Well, it's dinner for me. I decided to just get it done before stream so I wouldn't start getting hungry.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I even had time for some skincare before stream.
Hell yeah. You know, I have not been able to do my nightly skincare ever since I swapped my shower time to mornings. I haven't been able to.
Yeah, I've been neglecting skincare for a long time.
Oh my god.
Well, it's been bad, but hey, I hope today marks a change in that. Yeah,
Hell
skincare
yeah.
is very nice. It just feels good. I even had like a longer showers. I could do like I had this luxury body scrub. It was you know, it's just great.
I enjoy a good exfoliation. Nothing feels better, I swear.
Mhm. So nice.
There's no
Just
time for
makes me
no.
feel like
I have no time for skincare at night. I do it in the morning when I shower, but I don't have time for it at night.
oh, okay.
If that makes sense. The lamp lighting us. Oh my god, Jules.
Yeah. Don't you miss him and his minigames?
Hell yeah. I do. Okay, I gotta go do the divine intel. Oh, I have this over here though too. Oh, fuck. Holy shit.
Ah.
I didn't know there was all that. LED glowing us. Goodness.
Stop let these. Did I put a smile on my face?
I'm glad.
So, can I guess what you had for breakfast?
You may.
Was it perchance pizza muffin?
Not for breakfast. I didn't have a pizza muffin. Actually, didn't have a pizza
Oh.
muffin at all today.
Oh,
For
Something's off.
breakfast. For breakfast, I had a yogurt. I had a Greek lemon meringue yogurt, and I had
oh heck yeah.
a croissant. And then for lunch, I had pizza.
Okay, okay. Nice.
How do you get this thingy? How do I get up there? Me up.
What kind of thingy?
This thing. I guess I saw the boxy thingies over here. Maybe I have to break one.
Pretty sure. Wait, does this mean there's a new minigame that it's got this exclamation mark? Oh no. Oh no, it means there's more to it.
Oh, I gotta go in the water.
Oh no. My relationship with Aerith is too good.
What do you mean it's too good?
It's 4 out of 5. Where's Tifa? I gotta
Oh
find out.
my god.
Tifa, please. Tifa.
Yeah, pizza muffin is strictly lunch food. Strictly lunch food.
Strictly lunch?
I would like something lighter in the morning, yeah. It's
But
it's
it
too
sounds so
small
good.
for dinner. It's too small for dinner, and it's too heavy for breakfast. That makes sense.
I've
that
had
chocobo?
dinner for breakfast before.
Oh my god.
It's so nice.
What would you have as a dinner for breakfast?
Sometimes I would like to make a full-on meal, like, you know, maybe, chicken or fish or something. Oh, my camera froze. Damn it.
Luma!
There's no Luma here. Let's see. But where's camera? Deactivate. Turn it back on. No, I actually have to turn it fully off. Oh yeah, they've added the third rank we gotta get for the final reward at the shooty thing.
Gotcha. I had
We gotta have
Pizza Hut
22,000.
22,000. Okay. Alright. Fun.
I'm gonna struggle with this.
You're gonna do fine. You're gonna do great. But it was a black olive Pizza Hut pizza. Hand tossed crust, of course.
Necessary data from the crystal. This should allow me to strengthen your materia.
But riding the chocobo cracks me up. It is pretty good. It's pretty decent.
Yeah. I have 100% accuracy after the first,
Let's go! He's locked in.
and then I
Today
missed.
is the
And
day.
then I missed
Fuck.
everything.
Fuck. Never mind.
No, 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 no.
Let me out. Let me out. Okay.
No, too early.
Alright, time to keep going this way then. I don't remember the crust at Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's pan, hand toss, thin crust, tavern. I think that's it. I didn't have to. I could just swim in the water, but it's quicker to do the chocobos. What's the differences? Pan is disgusting. Pan pizza, it's like, super oily. Put like a huge amount of oil on the crust. And super, like, thick like that. Like the whole crust is like that the whole way. Borderland.
What? No.
You got this, Nev, I believe. Well, that could be little crosses, because, oh my god, there's a beaver dam. Oh my god, these damn beavers. Oh, I can't go. You son of a bitch. Alright, well, I can't go this
Are
way.
you kidding me? You want to know my exact score?
Yes.
It was a new record. It was 1 point. Exactly 1 point higher than last time.
Wow. You're outdoing yourself.
20,713.
Hell yeah. Improvement's improvement.
Yeah, but I messed up so bad. You know, at the last one where you have to, these big guys, you have to destroy to spawn the others.
Uh-huh.
I managed to fail one of those. I didn't spawn all the other points. I could have had it.
So it's, you know, it's attainable then. You know, it's like right there.
It's right there. I'm crying.
You just have to be brave enough to reach out and grab it.
If you had one shot,
One opportunity. Would you capture it? Or let it slip? Grab it by the...
yeah.
I don't know what... I don't know what Max
I've
is
missed
talking
so
about.
many. Yeah, I don't know. Grab it by the. What's a word that starts with P? Potato.
That is a word that starts with P, yes. I don't know
That
what
has
the
to be what he meant.
What in the parkour am I supposed to be doing right now?
No, I'm.
Well, is that the way? Do you know the way?
Tell you that my way is having no accuracy.
I don't know how to go that far, so I'm just gonna double back, I guess.
No, 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 no. All the shots I'm missing. I'm missing so bad. No, are you kidding me?
We saw chocobos climb up vertical walls, but this is a different kind of chocobo.
Is it one of the kids?
No, it's they're thinking of the ones that walk up the where the arrows are. Do I have the materials?
Are you pulling? Come on, don't leave us hang.
I didn't get all the materials yet? God damn it.
It's like having 100 of.
Okay, well, let's return the shell. It was not a chocobo. It's the last area that we did the chocobos. They walk up walls, but these ones don't do that. Are you who I talked to? Who do I talk to? Oh, she's over here.
Oh, okay, okay. Might be locked in.
Okay.
Might actually do it.
So, happen to find any neat shells out there? How was the beach?
Just gotta rapid fire all this. No. Okay.
Thank you for the mirror.
Whoa. Huge, right? Dang. That thing goes
No, I
Chocobo.
missed another one.
thing. I can't help but wonder what is making her smile from ear to ear like that. Is it the shells? Or ha!
No, no.
Inspiration has finally struck. I know
140 points away.
before I go.
You got it. One more go. One more go. You made mistakes again. You got this.
Center.
Yeah, I dropped another one of those big boys.
You got it.
Oh, the camera froze.
Next time we need a chocobo.
Shit.
Are you kidding me? It's that bad today? Turning it off and back on again. Maybe I need to drop the shades.
It's that much easier to take in all the scenery.
I'm still steering.
Oh, fine.
Well, that's bright.
To be the man up front.
Might be easier this way. Overwatch trailer
it-
time tomorrow?
I don't know actually. I didn't pay attention to when the full one's coming out.
Want to shoot your shot? This swimsuit's got perfect aim.
I could use a swimsuit with perfect aim.
But you'll never lose in this winning ensemble.
Oh, that one sounds good too.
With this look, it'll be hook, line.
I don't need to fish. I'm good. Whoa.
My friends, who among you doesn't ache for that perfect swimsuit physique?
Yeah. Max is all in for the fishing swimsuit. Her lipstick's too light for her. Too pink.
I'm so glad you came. So, what did you think of the show? You were the inspo after all. I absolutely loved it. But the two of us didn't do anything inspo worthy. We just had fun.
The subtle lipstick is nice. No, it's too light.
Couples get us in the
It's too.
spot.
It makes her lips look really bright.
This place is more than just a vacation.
It's too light for her skin tone.
It's a paradise where people come to create lifelong memories. And making sure
A light pink lipstick does not work well on
next time you swing by,
darker skin tones.
frolic in the waters, bask in the sun. Enjoy our town to its fullest and leave with a smile.
I got a weapon level up from that? That's crazy.
Oh hey, you trade the city for the beach too?
What are you doing here? Relaxing, really. We're on our yearly beach retreat.
I did it. I beat it by over 2,000 points.
Let's go. See, I told you. I told you you had it in the bag.
Stop by
Oh,
the facility when you
heck
visit.
yeah.
We're in need of your particular skills. Okay.
10 SP. Hell yeah. 10 SP is a lot, please.
But I also saw that there's a new one over at the Run Wild thing. Or the
Oh
football.
my god. Oh, I see.
At least that one wasn't that hard. But if I have to do it again, even though I beat the score, that's going to be dumb.
That stuff was cute, but was it right for me?
Oh,
I
yeah.
would still play. After watching a swimsuit. This,
Yeah, look
this,
at that. Will you
What is
look
it?
at that? Rank 3. You gotta be 2.5 minutes. My best time, 1 minute, 53 seconds.
Hell yeah.
I have
You
to
have
do
to-
it again.
Yeah. That is annoying.
Oh,
The swimsuit competition was just the fruits of my labor.
I'm on the hunt for new love, baby.
there's the red ball. There it is.
the gym? Okay, that's the gym. Put the photo back. So nothing like triggered it, it just has a new level now?
Yeah.
Or did you have to complete something to get the new level?
Probably had to like get out of the area after the story thing.
Okay.
Hey, how about an orb or two?
Well, it's not difficult, luckily. It's just annoying.
How many Final Fantasies do you have to do after this?
All of them. The yellow ball is there.
So we have the 7 that comes with this one, or the pre whatever pre thing. You do that. We have World of Final Fantasy. We have the Paradise one. We have 12. We have 15. Am I missing anything else? And then the third Final Fantasy 7, whenever that comes out, but that's not even out yet.
Did you say Crisis Core?
That's the preload, right? The preload.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay, yeah. So I did count that one. I think that is just 6, but 1 is not even out yet, so really 5. We can actually do. But 12 is gonna take a really long time.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So you got 100% Final Fantasy 14 online. We will pass. We will pass on that one.
No, I'm not doing this. What the heck? No, I missed. And you gotta do it again. Yeah.
No Final Fantasy 14 for me, please.
It's too big.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's too big.
Really?
I'd say it's
not. You know how many hundreds of hours there's of gameplay?
I'd just say it's not that interesting.
I couldn't even beat the rank 2 score. What the heck?
You gotta do it, it's Final Fantasy, you guys said you complete them all. We didn't say that.
We will play the ones we want to play. We only play good Final Fantasies, like 13. Right?
Yeah. Fuck, I'm missing so much.
Goes in, nice. Okay, that was actually really decent first round. Go in. Thank you. Where's my blue ball?
Oh fuck, I had to hit that one more than once.
Oh, that goes in. Nice. There. That goes in. I have a lot of time left for this one now. Can that just please? 1 minute, 38 seconds. Almost a minute before the time you need. Did it. Open nickel bag. Oh yeah, machine gun Kelly. You're right. Wait, why is there a music thing still? Okay.
I warmed up to 13 because of the third game. The third game made me like it more because it was so different.
The third game was way different, but it was also kind of nice.
I liked it.
Just, I wish it was better from the get-go.
I think just because I think it was fine. It's just I didn't understand like what the game was gonna be like, and I worried too much instead of just like being chill about it.
When we were playing 2D Final Fantasy games, now we've actually made an agreement with Cairo and Kanye that they handle those games and we
Right.
handle these modern ones.
Right.
So that way we can all cover it.
Yeah, we're a partnership in order to give you guys all the great content, while also like giving all of the channels the coverage, you know.
Yeah.
It's really for them, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of a charity from our end.
Yeah, we're just being kind.
It's like we won't hog all of the like Final Fantasy attention.
Right.
As they say, sharing is caring.
They do say that. Shit. No, I did it. Oh, sweet. I did it, actually. I thought I didn't get it.
Oh.
It took me a second. It took me a second.
93% accuracy? Holy
I was pretty
Sniper.
slow with it.
Next time, matey.
You guys covered the booba, and they covered the good gameplay. Oh, okay. Sure, buddy. Sure.
And you tell yourself that, okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
We
they
covered
really...
good gameplay and the booba.
They really seem to love how great their game is. Yeah, they really... Every time I see them playing it, they're not saying that they hate their life or anything. They're not saying it's the worst Final Fantasy they ever played. They've never done that. They're always really happy with the gameplay. We seem to really enjoy their time.
Run wild. A paradise for animals big. Now's your chance to run wild.
How am I coming along with this Saga of the Seaside? Minimum of 4 bundles of material are required. I want all material.
Yeah, I need to get all of the... I'm low. I don't have all of it.
Maybe I should actually jump on the chocobo to move around a bit quicker. Yeah, fast travel to the training gym. I guess. There we go. You like you like the mini games of working out?
I hope it goes well.
I don't want this.
You want this.
No, it was so painful.
You want it. You want it. Don't lie to me.
Okay. Yeah, I want it. I want to be buff. I want to be proper gym bro.
Okay, next one is a blue one. What the fuck is it? Oh. Oh, I got lucky. Okay, next is the red. Okay, and then where is it? There.
You got this.
Fuck.
I believe.
Thank God.
Yeah, that's the issue I had. I messed up so many times on the first try today.
I honestly don't know a game that Hurricane hasn't hated that him and Gyarados streamed. Damn.
That's quite a fair point.
That's crazy. Okay, I need to find all of... I have 3 of 8. Damn.
Oh damn, I'm almost dead.
That's not good.
Nah,
Why you do this?
time to heal up. Because I want to have a little bit of a challenge.
You want the drama? He did not
Oh.
enjoy Luigi's Mansion. Do you think he enjoyed Mario?
They should play Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memories.
They should. Kanye knows that one, so... You hated Sunshine less, but still.
Sunshine, is that bad?
I don't think it's bad. It's just, he just didn't like it. He never played, like, the 64 or anything like that.
Ah. Galaxy was fun.
Is there a bundle here? There is. Okay, now I'm at 4, but I need 4 more.
I don't even know how many I have.
I think you said 4, but maybe not.
Yeah, well, I looked at the requirements. You need 4 at least.
Yeah. Is there one here? Ooh, I got 5.
Nice.
Sunshine is GameCube? But we didn't have a GameCube either. Ooh, look what we're doing in here. Fun.
Pull-ups.
This is gonna be great.
You are. Glad you could make it. Cloud, Tifa. Once a year we take a retreat to enjoy the sun and sea breeze. Nothing like getting some gains in the great outdoors. What do you say? Get a sweat with us?
Hell yeah.
I haven't done a proper workout in forever.
Well, we'll happily help you both become your best selves. Train with us as long as you like.
You mean it? Well, I might just take you up on that.
Here's a question for you, Cloud. What would you say is the key to a good workout?
Food, of course.
Can't expect to bulk up without the building blocks. Treat your
Did
muscles
Tifa's
to a
voice
nice
change?
workout meal,
I don't
and
think
we'll
so.
reward
What?
you with even bigger
No.
gains. Now let's get down
Should
to
be the
business,
same actor
shall
still.
we? The reason I wanted you to stop by? Monsters have been spotted skulking around the facility.
Oh,
and I
he
want
wants
them
me to
gone.
kill the monsters?
Sure.
What a bloke. Hi, Random Marco.
We can't train our
I don't know I used
Oh,
your government
hello.
name, but I did.
So you'll be doing all of us muscleheads a big favor.
It is what it is.
Government name.
Yeah, I said Random Marco, just saying Marco. I normally just say Marco.
Yeah, and then you will have the answer Polo.
Yeah, well, I may still have...
Let's get out there and kick some ass.
Alright, alright.
Well, yeah. Wanted an excuse to work up a sweat, and now I've got one.
Wonder what little Tifa would say.
I think she'd be pretty proud.
Okay, have I killed... Oh. That one's new. Oh my god, I got thundered.
That's no good.
Ah! Fuck! What the hell?
Not looking good.
About damn time. Fire and one all. Don't you let up now.
No MP.
Okay. Is that? Oh, I already have this one. Dang it.
No more playing nice.
Strange fish? Yes, always eat. Always eat the strangest of fishes.
Hell yeah. Technically, we're fishing right now.
Wrong mistake, I guess.
Technically, indeed. Thank you for the scream. Appreciate that.
Oh, sorry. Just some mental meal prep. The ideal post-workout dish.
So, you were the one behind Seventh Heaven's
That is zipline I have
Was a
not done.
holdover from
Oh.
the old owner. The better half was mine.
Should have ate there more.
Yeah.
Random mark 0. My mistake. My mistake. My apologies.
Here.
I missed all the shots.
Don't overdo it.
You keep dodging all my shots, you son of a bitch. Stop it.
Time for a serious ass whooping. Don't stop now.
Oh yeah, I see which one you mean.
Like this hurts, don't it?
The crown lands.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna burn. Look now. Oh yeah. I've been waiting for this. Won't be nothing left of you and I.
Yes, it's 2 underscores. Please don't forget.
Gotta lure. How'd you like that?
Hey, Cloud. Would you say you're a picky eater?
Soldiers can't be choosers. We ate what we were fed.
Well, I used to be super picky, actually.
Really?
Used to be. Not anymore, though. Now the choosers in the slum.
Took them out. Go back to Jules.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Me neither.
2 underscores. It's the best number of underscores. Surely.
Is it?
Yes.
What if you have no underscores?
No underscores is also good.
Okay.
Parrot, pervert, carrot. Wow.
Question. What kind
Wow.
of meals do they feed soldiers?
They put a lot of thought into making them healthy. Not much into making them tasty. Ugh.
That face says it all.
You know, it's funny.
What?
Didn't realize it at the time, but we ate pretty good when we were kids.
Yeah. Homegrown fruits and vegetables, and great chefs eager to use them.
Come here, fishy, fishy. Start playing Guardians of Azuma. I think it's so far, but it's doing some bullshit I don't like. What's it doing?
Thank you, Marco. I tried something.
Oh my god, wait! You just braided that. What the heck?
But it's not a true braid. It's just like
A twist?
yeah, it's twist braid, not like fully. You know.
I'm actually not good at doing those.
I was just playing with my hair, honestly, it's very straight. And then, you know, it kind of somehow worked. Oh shit,
Gotta. Oh shit, that does not look good. That does not look good.
Heard you two took care of our little monster problem. Can't thank you enough. Now we can
oh,
get back
I
to
got the lag.
being free.
Excuse me. Sorry about
A
it.
gold bat.
But you wouldn't happen to be the one who beat these guys in a pull-up contest, would you?
Watch it, rookie. Don't badmouth us.
But that's how it went down.
Oh, I messed up, damn it.
Max is out of
This is-
balls.
You're Tifa, right? After I heard how you crushed it, I knew I had to join the gym. You're the reason I'm here.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not your only fan. Look, all of us signed up because we wanted to be just like you.
It's just as she says. Thanks to you, our
Anime
no,
bullshit?
no.
Needless to say, we're very grateful.
Retry.
Floating sheep won't shut the fuck up, and the money and villager management might become too much.
Which is why
I like money and villager management.
I want to challenge you to a sit-up contest.
Right now?
So you know, Amina's been training.
Why are squats the go-to exercise to see NPCs doing?
Let me sweeten the deal. If your plans prove superior, I'll add a
Probably an
bonus
easier
to your
animation, I
rewards.
guess.
How's that sound?
Interesting.
Don't go easy on me, okay?
Sure.
Just like that. Don't you ever get sore?
That was perfect.
Show up. I can't get enough of those beautiful muscles.
28 versus 18. Yeah.
Her boobs are a jiggling.
There's a reason why you're using that outfit instead of nothing else, right?
It's almost like your muscles are
Fan service for the chat.
It's making this quite difficult.
Yeah, keep it up.
You're just
I have-
looking at the jiggle.
I
instead
have
of
to
the
look at
rhythm.
her to see her stop moving so I know when to hit the button.
Just like that.
I just imagine the back pain Tifa must have at all times.
And she's making noises.
What do you mean making noises?
What do you mean? She's moaning the whole time.
Are you getting flustered?
Look at Max! Look at Max! Look at Max! Jesus Christ!
Oh.
Have some adamantite.
Thanks a lot.
Holy shit!
Like I said, you're an
I'm just trying to look and see when she stops so I know when to hit the button again. And she's just like, her boobs are just like fucking bouncing all like a trampoline, dog.
Again.
This is crazy.
Sorry.
Crazy.
Glad I
I
could
was
help.
crazy once.
Well, actually, I was hoping that, if it's not too much to ask, would you, Tifa, be my muscle mentor?
Yay, me.
Really? I don't know.
Okay, this actually wasn't horrible, but this is the we just did the basics so far, so
stopping by from time to time. I'm sure she
Oh, actually,
How
I
many
gotta take
levels are
these
there?
off. I,
Might as
I
well.
don't know.
Oh, the gloves are off. The gloves are off.
Oh my gosh! Thanks, Coach!
Yes.
What the fuck? That was creepy. I hope there are 10
Wait,
levels.
that was just the
Max.
warm-up? There's 3 more afterwards?
Okay, I believe that.
Donation fee. And is promised a little extra for helping her out. Come back whenever you want to put some iron.
You ready to get flexed on? Oh, okay, we gotta do all of these, I guess. Gonna crush me. 10 levels max, please. We're calibrating towers here.
It's for 5 SP. We just got SP. Fuck.
I messed it up, what the heck?
I already messed it up too.
You're killing it. Show up.
Looking good. Let me see you sweat.
I messed it up without even doing one. It's just-
We're singing.
Come on, please.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Keep it up.
Fuck! Ah. I'm stressed. I'm already stressed.
Don't you ever.
God damn it, I'm so dumb. I'm dumb. I'm dumb.
What? It said I was supposed to press it. Wait, do I need to hold it instead of press it several times this?
Just like that.
Ew. Yeah. That's... Oh, I don't like that.
Selected the Cruncher Squads minigame. I don't think I got the best squats. Never did though. Wow.
I hated it.
Wow. Oh my god.
What am I supposed to do with that one? Is it click? Or is it like just hold it? It doesn't tell me.
Show up. You're killing it.
You're both so
He's gonna crush me. I got it. Think it's hold?
Just like that.
Yeah, I'll try for sure holding this time.
That was perfect.
Don't you ever get sore? How much training do you do?
Wait, I gotta
Yeah.
slightly hold it and then fully press it once it's charged. Is that it?
I'm at a loss for words.
I pressed the wrong button.
Incredible form. It's almost like your muscles are singing. Don't you ever get
I'm just staring at her boobs and seeing when the boobs stop, and that's when I know when to hit the button.
That was one hell of a workout.
Okay, I still didn't fix that emote, that thingy. Wait, I hit retry. Fuck, I'm dumb.
Don't go easy on me. Okay?
Shit. Shit.
Yeah,
Wait, no,
okay.
no, no.
That one is rough.
Wait.
You gotta like halfway press the button, then fully press it once it's charged.
That's for the third one?
Gotta do this again sometime.
That's the second one. I
There's
haven't
a
passed the trainee level.
I'm so pumped.
I have 2 more after this.
Wait, what the fuck? What's happening? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, well,
Truly incredible.
You're killing it.
No! Oh, fuck that.
Beautiful.
Both challengers? Yes, please.
That was perfect.
Yes, please.
Incredible form.
Come on.
Both so stunning.
Don't you ever get sore.
That.
I'm at a loss for words.
why did she say it like that?
I'm just copying the guy I'm fighting against here.
That was perfect.
You're killing it. Keep it up.
Beautiful.
Maybe there's something to these Final Fantasy games. You're crazy.
No, I messed it up. Damn it. Not at the end. Not at the end. Please. Of course, he makes it. He doesn't fail at the end, so he can just rush past me.
Damn.
Because I did well, he did flawless.
I'm all pumped up.
I hate that, like, artificial difficulty they put in there, because if you fail early, he will fail early too. Yeah, get so angry.
All right, give it your best shot.
Neva has no distractions. Actually, maybe the boobs help. Maybe watching the boobs stop is helpful.
It's like, when you see the jiggle, you know the timing.
Yes.
Show up.
You're crushing it.
You're both so stunning.
Push through the pain.
Wait, I had the wrong button. Fuck. I'm done.
Where'd that
No, too early. Fuck.
That was perfect.
Great form.
If I do flawless from now on,
Truly
I got this.
show up? You are
Did it.
in the zone.
Strongest sit-upper there is.
No. I liked it better
Oh,
when it
yeah,
was the shape
I-
buttons.
I agree, Marco. Absolutely agree.
I like this better. I like this better.
I'm gonna crush you.
Do you even like? Do you like
I
when
have
it's like you gotta halfway
a-
push it and then all the way?
I haven't had that.
You haven't had that?
No. Not yet, anyway. We went a different
I had
direction
it
this time.
versus this guy.
Where'd that come from?
Kidding me? I had to do that with this guy.
Great form.
Maybe if you showed boobs, it would be easier.
Incredible form.
Third guy. I don't like his outfit. It's very loud.
Crushing it.
Yeah, feel the burn.
Wait, why does it cross now?
Truly incredible.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Ever get sore?
I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, keep it up.
Beautiful.
Show up.
Because Candy is waiting for the boobs to stop jiggling, keeping the boobs moving fluidly results in more punches. And Neva can't see the boobs at all. The boobs are locked.
Oh, I fucked it up. Shit. Fuck. No. Ew.
Okay, people.
The crossing's gonna fuck me up. The crossing's definitely gonna
Yeah,
fuck me up.
artificial. Yeah, I can't catch up with that. It's like you fail just before the end, you're messed up because he will just do so many in a row.
Yeah, the momentum's
Ugh.
Get
crazy.
into the groove.
Was your favorite TGIF show?
Just like that.
Is that?
Truly incredible.
Thank God it's
TGIF.
Friday show.
You're crushing it.
It's almost like your muscles are singing.
Fuck! I can't. The rhythm. Shit.
That was perfect.
You're
No, fuck.
Great form.
You're both so stunning.
The GIF. The GIF.
keep it up.
Thank God it's Friday.
Was perfect.
I don't think I have one.
Yeah, keep it up.
It's almost like your muscles are singing.
Truly incredible.
No, I did it early. Alright, I wasn't gonna get it anyway.
No, I pushed it all the way inside. Couldn't get it. I messed up. Wait, so it changes with this guy?
Max is so... I can't believe you. Anyone that comes into the stream right now. It's crazy. Expecting Cloud. Hi, honey.
You're crushing it.
Just like that.
Beautiful.
Great form.
It's almost like your muscles are singing.
I'm at a loss for
No, I could have had it. And I cry.
Yeah, keep it up.
Calcium cannons? I do not like that. What the f-
Killing it.
You're crushing it.
that was perfect. You two
Oh,
are doing awesome.
why couldn't the rhythm be even all the way throughout? Why does it have to increase? It makes me sad.
Keep it up.
You're crushing it.
No! 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 I was gonna win! I was gonna win, but I did it too early! Fuck. No. No, we tied. No.
Oopsie.
No, I almost had it. Shit.
Yeah. This one is rough.
No. I had it,
Crossing
dude.
is so evil. Why? That was on it. That was. I failed at one. Please.
You're killing it.
The song in the background is not helping me.
You're both so stunning.
I can hear your
No!
ecstasy.
Alright. We try. If I fail once, it's like over. I can't.
Okay, let's get this party started.
It switched directions on me.
Yeah.
Great form.
Just like that.
Beautiful.
You're crushing it.
No, no! I tried to go faster and I went too fast. Please fail. Oh, no, he didn't. Of course. Of course he didn't.
Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up.
Fuck this guy.
Motion.
Please.
That was
Doing so well when I'm doing well, and he sucks when I suck. It's like, come on.
incredible.
Just doesn't suck enough.
You're crushing it.
You're both so stunning.
No! No, I keep fucking up the same way. No, 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 no. Please, please, please.
At the very end, come on, you can do it. You can do it.
Just like that.
Holy shit, I made it! We managed to fuck up at the same time! That's the only way I got it done! Holy shit.
Okay. Tell me how bad the last one's gonna be.
That was a whooping I won't forget.
It's against Jules.
Of course it is against Jules. It's always against Jules. I don't like him.
Alright, it's just for a champion belt.
No! Fuck in
Don't forget
up,
the
please.
It's probably gonna switch directions. Like mid or something.
Oh, you gotta change between hold
Wait.
and tap.
Okay, it's just cross so
1.5
far.
minute? You gotta do 1.5 minutes, not just 1 minute.
Where'd that come from? Yeah, keep it up.
No! I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. No. Fuck. It's over.
You're crushing it.
Incredible form. It's almost like your muscles are singing. Do you ever get sore?
Yeah, keep it up.
You're killing it.
No, I.
Incredible form.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, keep it up.
Oh, he failed. He failed. There's a chance. Please.
He did 31. He's doing 33. Holy shit. 34. Oh god.
No.
Oh, he's gonna hit 40.
Lost by one.
He's gonna hit 40. Oh, okay.
Where'd that come
Jules, what the fuck?
45.
Crushing it.
You're killing it. Incredible form.
No, you're not the only one that likes Chadley.
Keep it up.
Chadley's nice.
Yeah, keep it up.
It's almost like your muscles are singing.
He got 51.
Really? 51?
Margot, I thought
Did he
you
fail
liked.
even once?
He slowed down, I think. But I don't think he failed. I failed twice that time, but I just wanted to see what I was up against.
Fun with it.
But it was the same like direction. It didn't like switch, like it didn't get any more difficult. The function was the same.
Don't you ever get sore? You're killing it.
Great form.
Yeah, keep it up. Show off. Just like that.
Yeah, keep it up.
You're killing it. Don't you ever get sore?
I'm locked in.
You're crushing it.
I believe.
It's almost like your muscles are singing. Where'd that come from?
31 versus 22.
Let's go.
Time for Jules.
Incredible form. Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up.
Show off. Just like that. Oh man, who's gonna win this one? It's too close.
I hope this is the only time we need to be here to do like any exercises, but it seems like we might have to do pull-ups.
You're killing it.
Great form.
Just looking in the background.
Where'd that come from?
Just have fun with it, Jules. You
It's almost like your muscles
stay out of this.
show off.
Yeah, keep it up.
No! 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 I failed right at the end.
No.
41
failed it.
to 51. 47 to 51. Sorry.
I failed when I had one.
Damn. Damn.
I got really far.
Your game face.
Oh my god, Max. One more after this? What do you mean? What do you mean one more after this?
They just want to see the booba.
Just like that. Don't you ever get sore?
You're crushing it. Keep going.
I'm just restarting. Fuck.
Just have fun with it.
I'm having fun, promise.
No, no! I got the fucking green hold the thing. Fuck. Yeah, this is lost.
You're killing it. Where'd that come from?
So dumb that I have to like be able to see that at a split second and just be able to not press it fully.
Yeah,
I've not had any of that, so I don't know.
Crushing it.
I have haptic triggers on the PS5 control.
Oh. I'm using a PS4 controller.
Keep it up.
You're lucky.
show off.
I will say that's really lucky.
It's almost like your muscles are singing. Where'd that come from?
You're crushing it.
Just like that. Don't you ever get sore?
No, wrong button.
I'm surprised Max hasn't taken a clip of
Of the
Tifa.
booba?
Yeah.
Push through the pain.
Halfway through the stream and all we've been doing is sit-ups and crunches.
Shit.
Don't forget your game face.
One more after the crunch off. As Antarctica's having more money. The rich tax. I'm trash. Suffering from success, right, Neva?
Just suffering.
Keep it up!
It's almost like your muscles are singing. Where'd that
No, I was too fast. Fuck, I got 27. Oh. It's catching up so fast.
Break form!
don't you ever get so
Need an eye tracker
Of course he
on.
doesn't fail.
You're crushing it!
Of course he doesn't fail. Of course he doesn't fail.
Where was my thing? Where was my thing? It was right on it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It said I was too early, but it didn't show like where I did it at all because it was on top of it. Fucking trash.
It's the worst game in the entire game.
I don't even want to talk about that one. I don't even want to talk about that one. Best part of the game.
You just like the jiggles.
He does.
Keep it up!
show up?
No! No! Oh! Oh!
What is happening?
Come on!
What?
I'm hating this. It's so bad.
Do you need to take a
It's-
lap?
No.
I'm telling
doing
you.
This. Why did it change directions?
Change your outfit.
Yeah, keep it up.
Wait,
Change my outfit.
yours changes the directions in between in the same.
It didn't.
Oh,
But
you
I
mean the
pressed
next?
retry this time.
Oh, I got you.
Yes, you are all talk.
Just have fun with it.
That's insult to injury is when like you retry and she's like, just have fun with it.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like your muscles are singing. Don't you ever get sore?
Keep it up!
You're killing it. show up. Just like that.
No! No! The hold! The hold!
Incredible form.
Darn you, Jules.
Can you plug in a different controller real quick?
Yeah.
No, I'm doing it with this one.
Crushing it!
Show up.
Keep it up!
It's almost like your muscles are singing.
Oh, you can't fail at all, can you?
Where'd that
I don't think so.
You're crushing it!
keep it up? Don't you
And-
sore?
Break form!
Ah. Okay,
Just like that.
okay, okay.
You're crushing it!
It's back to the one I'm used to.
That come from?
Poetry in motion!
No.
Killing it.
Oh, okay.
Show up.
Just have fun with it.
Break form!
I'm not
No,
losing
we
it. I
fucking tied!
promise.
We fucking tied! So I
That counts
still
as a
lost! Yes! No!
Oh, that's so bad.
Fucking- Max is my biggest op right now. Max is my biggest
I can't even
op.
hear the dings anymore. Yeah.
I took
Max
an
is
angry
happy.
gulp. An angry
Angry
gulp.
gulp.
Alright. Log back in. Thank you for the 10 bits. I appreciate the monetary compensation.
Just like that. Incredible form.
I don't even remember what order the buttons are supposed to be. Oh, they popped up on screen and I pressed faster. God.
Ever get sore? It's almost like your muscles are singing.
Break form!
Show up. You're killing it.
Yeah, keep it up.
Where'd that come from? Yeah, keep it up. How much training do you do? Show up.
You're crushing it.
Just like that. Don't you ever get sore?
Great form.
It's almost like your muscles are singing.
You're crushing
No. The beginning was good, but the I fucked up on the pushing. Couldn't push fast enough.
No! No! No!
You're killing it.
Why do I have to get the hold it here?
I'm so sorry, Noah.
It's so fucking dumb.
crushing it.
Oh, and now I got my leg spike as well.
Killing it.
Yeah, you have like 2 things against you right now.
Where'd that come from?
The world and myself.
I have no excuse. Fucking hell. I had a 3 lead right there. I had a 3 lead and I threw it all away.
Don't forget your game face.
Get your Ryorn. Quiet's a little chat right now. The chat's a little quiet right now. Y'all gooning? What's up? Calling y'all out.
Yeah. Making some
SMH.
goon juice.
I can't believe.
You're singing.
Can't believe y'all.
Just have fun with it.
These are pixels. I'm gonna say what Puffy says. These are pixels, my guy. Pixels.
Show up.
Oh
No,
my God.
no, no, I was prepared for the hold and I fucked up because it popped up on screen and it pressed early. Ooh. I wish Jules do not appear in the next game. Maybe something horrible happened to him.
Don't you ever get sore?
Great form.
Incredible.
Max, no.
form.
Shush.
Just like that. Where'd that come from?
You're crushing it.
Yeah, keep it up. Incredible form.
Great form.
It's almost like your muscles are singing.
Yeah, keep it up.
Don't you ever get sore? You're killing it.
God damn it. God damn it. I keep. Oh God, I'm bursting a blood vessel.
At least you've been close. I'm here just...
No, I'm giving up when I
I got like...
give up.
No. No. Don't leave me, Candy. Oh shit, I didn't even make one.
Just like that. Show up. Uh-oh. Giving up already?
Don't forget your game face.
Alright. Breathe in, breathe out. Zen. Zen time.
You're killing it.
Great form.
Yeah, keep it up. Incredible form. It's almost like you're
No, no. Oh, I didn't fucking do it.
You're killing it. Don't you ever get sore? Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up.
Just like that. Where'd that come from?
You're crushing it.
It's almost like your muscles are singing. Show up.
Great form.
You ever get sore?
You're crushing it.
Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up.
Incredible form.
Push through the pain. You're crushing it.
Woo! You are in the zone. You're killing it.
Great form.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Can you look at Tifa's chest like it's a weeping angel? Oh my god.
Don't blink.
Nicely done.
Oh my
You
god.
clearly haven't neglected your training.
Whew, I need some water. Go get some
No,
water.
no, 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 no!
Dude, I'm gonna stagger. They just...
Yeah, you can't mess up even once, can you?
And even when you, like, you can't not mess up, but you also can't, like, go too slow either.
Getting pissed. I was so close. So close. And sometimes when it pops up on screen, I just press for some reason.
Slam that protein.
And I got so lucky with having like many multi-presses instead of the hold one. Oh.
Thank you for the song request. Okay.
Okay, people.
Whew.
Time to make our muscle.
Alright, there is not another one after this. At least not at this moment. We're good to
That's
go.
good. Wait, you did it?
I did it. I got 53.
Congrats.
I'm dying. Thank you so much.
I'll
Thank
be
you
right
so
there
much.
with you at some time during
believe.
the stream.
I need to get to this area, but I don't know how. What the fuck is this? Cannot swim any further. Why can I not swim any further?
Fuck you, Jules. Fuck you to the moon and back. Do. I did it.
Let's go!
I'm so happy. I'm so glad.
You should be.
Oh, my shoulder is not, it's not aching, but it's kind of weird. Oh. All right, I don't want to be here. I don't want to set foot in the gym ever again. No, actually, I gotta find something to drink. Maybe some more tea to calm me down. I had
Okay.
more tea and I spilled it on my pants.
Oh no. It's quite unfortunate.
Oh no. Okay.
Well. Don't see anything around here. Crunch contest is my new
No.
favorite.
No. Hey, do you want to go back to Calibrate Towers instead?
Pass.
I agree.
I wonder if there's a thingy up here, but we can't get up here. Yes, we can. Okay, I don't see it there. Nothing near this zip line. What's that showing me? I found a new reason to say 50k Wally Scritches, goodness. Can't fucking talk.
Yeah, I agree. I like my entire system needs a reboot right now.
Really?
Like me, my as a person, not my PC
Oh.
or PlayStation.
Oh, okay.
It's just that was so tiring.
Yeah. I know what you mean. After I got done, like, I feel my whole core was rattled.
Yeah.
I got eye drops, and I, drank some fluids. Where are the zip lines? Shit.
Weak against ice.
Thank you, Cairo, for the song request. Where's the zip lines? Okay, I found another zip line. Let's go to the bottom first. There's nothing here. Ooh, I found one. Okay. Okay, we're at 6. Okay, I just need one
There we
more.
go. Fight the sun.
Let's go. Alright. I feel like you're just here for the zip line. Music is super quiet. How are we doing now?
Oh, what did I do? Oh, no print screen. We don't need that.
You sure?
Well, I don't need it right now.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Can we get a scale 1 to 10? How sure?
2. Where
Okay.
10 is the most sure.
Okay, thank you, Cairo. Appreciate it.
Where's the rest of the zip lines? I thought every zip line would be in the start area.
I found 7.
You found 7?
Yeah. I'm just revisiting every zipline in the area.
Oh. So it should be there in the start area, not
Yeah.
all the way down where I'm at.
It should be.
Okay.
That one's coming
Well.
from there. Probably the one that I haven't gotten yet.
Oh.
Oh.
What did I hear? I heard a eh. Is that a child?
It's better to be drunk than old. Damn.
What?
It's better to be drunk than old.
What about both?
Well, I guess if you're one, then you're covered. Oh, a Choco Child. Where? Where's the Choco Child?
Heard one
Maybe
too,
it's
but
up
I found
here.
a cache.
Twilight Hill. Yeah. Yeah. Are you at Twilight Hill right now?
Yeah.
We're living the same things.
There's 2 chests here. I found one of them.
That's good.
It's as you if you're playing the same game.
It's almost as if.
Yeah, I don't do like the jiggle things.
Oh, so someone's better than the other. Hmm.
No, I'm just saying there's a
Mm.
game for everyone out there. And this one is not catered towards nah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Likely story.
Yeah? No? Where's
They were crazy jiggling. Okay, where's the child though? I heard the child.
Oh wait, you found both chests?
Yeah. Did
Oh,
you not?
there it is. Yeah. Found it now. I had to backtrack. I didn't
I don't know
find the
where-
child either. I heard the same one.
It was over here that I heard it. But I'm near one, so it whatever. I'm just gonna
I have
It'll be
6 out of 8 zipline material
Just
things.
revisit all of the ziplines, you'll find it.
Yeah. Also want to find the child.
Find anything, bro?
Alright, I only saw one chest.
Honestly, we don't even remember collecting this much stuff.
Music recommendations.
You got that right. Our bro's a cut above.
Oh my god.
I guess we better get this haul back to our palace, kinda, sorta by the sea.
Which means our work here is done, right?
Well, since you asked, a couple of the other Johnnies went looking for parts to fix the boiler.
The child is not at the beach.
Yep, and I bet they could really use your help. Think they were headed toward one of those old Republic-era factories. Tell them Johnny says hi. It's a thing we do.
No, I don't see it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was just a noise for finding the spot. Finding
Oh, might
the cache.
Hey there, bro.
Hey, Johnny said that you needed my help.
What? No, I didn't. Wait, was it you? Not me. So you're saying it was me?
The music's not too loud now, is it?
You're too stubborn to ask for help. Hey, you talking shit about me?
Oh my god, they're about to fight.
You two are a riot. Have you thought about starting a two-man show? I bet it'd be a smash hit.
Oh, get off the chocobo.
Well,
Yeah, I hate that.
looking for a
It's
party
nice with the auto mount, but it's also when you're trying to dismount, like there should be a cooldown to when you can get back on. Like there's a small cooldown.
hunting for a transmuter chip.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long,
Touch
like
slow.
a second or a second and a half.
Okay, I'll take it from here.
There.
Sweet!
And a little bit lower.
We're looking for instructions on how to craft a boiler valve. And if you find one of those chips, feel free to just transmute a valve yourself.
Are you trying to give us even more work?
You two are the best. Here, X works the spot. Wait, didn't you try digging there before?
Cannot know where any of the zip lines are. Maybe here, actually.
Where are Yuffie's parents or guardians? Probably dead.
Boiler is as good as fixed.
Oh,
Hot, steamy showers in every room.
I mean, people's parents don't join a secret organization of ninjas. Just a thought.
Actually, there's one more.
Where is he?
Said he wanted to give the hotel royal flair
Yeah,
by putting
checks
the
out.
Strawberry King's crown on display. Last we heard,
What about her ninja parents?
hope he's not
I don't think she has ninja parents. I think
wounds.
she probably joined the clan young as an orphan. If I had to guess, Ninja Brothers. Well, she's on a
Oh,
mission
shit.
right now.
A boiler to fix.
She
They
got
sent her.
dwarfed.
We're gonna head back. Our other life is in your hands.
Yeah, we're just making this tragic story about her now.
Imagine it actually lining up pretty well with what actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just making guesses, educated guesses.
What if you're very educated and it's very nice, very spot on?
Me neither.
Maybe
Well,
I need Anna in here to help me. Jagged!
renovating the hotel.
Oh my god, Jagan, hello!
Give the place that
How you
police
doing?
feel. But it's somewhere over there.
And also I've got some tea,
Rumor has
try
it
not to
the
spill more
Strawberry
on me.
King lives somewhere nearby.
Good.
But there's no way your boy
Yeah.
Johnny can get through the desert.
Jagged, you missed this, the crunches.
Listen, bro. I don't know if you were planning
Glad
on
you're
taking
doing
off
well.
the
Oh,
news,
the
but
crunches.
if you are,
Oh,
you'd
the
really
workout
enjoy your
minigame.
salad if you brought me back to the
Fuck
craft.
that.
Preferably in the most pristine condition possible.
I'm just
I-
happy I did it this time.
Just sit tight.
So I didn't do the last
did
one.
it.
Go away into the desert cloud? 'Cause
And
I
you
didn't.
nailed it.
Yeah, I wasn't gamer enough
or something?
last time.
This was horrible. I hated
It was fine. It was fine. It was hard for you because
Okay.
you had the bad. Oh, I'm peeking my mic. You had the bad stuff.
Waiting too long. We
Use
tried
your
the delicate
dual
flower
sense controller next time, Candy. Please.
I don't have one. I don't have
Then get
one.
one and do it. It was. Oh, you don't push it all the way in, but do it fast, and then hold it, and then push it in. Oh, I won by 4 at the end, so I'm happy about that.
Steal the Toneberry's King's crown and deliver it. How do I do that?
How indeed.
Do I? Well, I'm thinking I need Yuffie. If I had to guess. She's
Think so too.
Stealer.
He's a
How do I-
ninja thief.
Can be pristine or marred.
Oh, I bet you'll just yoink the crown. Just don't keep me waiting too long.
Fast travel,
We
please.
Johnny have
Yes.
delicate flowers that wilt
I don't know where to go. Do I go in deeper? But I don't know how to go in deeper.
desert heat.
Unless is
Can
the
you do it with Chocobo?
no, there's wood in all of the way.
Oh, then maybe it's locked and we can't do it just yet. Maybe you have to just progress the story.
Okay. Well, I'll double check, but it looks like there's wood. Goddamn beavers in the way. Okay, well, I guess
Yeah,
I'll
Not far behind.
I'm gonna head towards the story mark then.
Have you done the pianos yet? Nah, no,
I just
don't do it.
did Tifa's intro and that's it. Is there more?
But
than that?
but did you get A rank on them?
No.
There's
I did
2
not.
songs
There's 2
I have right
songs?
now. I have 2 songs.
I can try real quick.
No, no.
You sure?
It's gonna be pain. Yeah, I'm quite
Okay.
sure. It's not gonna
Alright.
be a good time.
Maybe if I start earlier than you one of these days. Oh, you cannot proceed. Oh, I have to change my clothes? What the fuck?
You can't do beach wear?
Oh, it's so sad.
No more Booba. Booba's cancelled.
That's dumb. That's dumb. That's real dumb. Oh, it's gotta be. Oh no, this isn't. I heard the sax and I was like, is this Bill Murray? It's not. I do love me some sax. Any sax lovers in the chat?
Good part of the game is over now? What do you mean? We can probably come back here and change into beachwear again. You have to talk to him
A
again.
deep berry? You like the berry sax?
Oh, I got a transmute? Work.
Service.
So we've got to walk?
Alright, copy down.
You'll be fine.
Make a gold needle.
The view ain't all that. Not unless you
Gotta change my playlist.
ruined reactors.
Oh, I'm out of music too.
You grew up around here, didn't you?
Let's get a move on.
Can't do Seven Nation Army without a berry sax? Been a minute since I listened to Seven Nation Army.
Super condensed Mako or something, right?
Craftsmanship, level 9.
Oh, that means wherever we find Mako, we'll find materia too. All right, timeout's over, team. Let's go.
What am I supposed to listen to?
When you're part
Put on my day list. I have Dopamine Pop Rock Monday afternoon right now.
Does that mean I gotta run everything by you?
I have.
Yep.
So that's the game.
Rebellious Modern Rock Monday evening.
Hell yeah. I'm just glad we were able to get through the crunches without using the entire stream for it.
Oh, yeah.
Do I get permission or not?
Sure, you can do it. Why you
It had me worried for a bit.
Yeah, I was a little worried.
Tifa, tell me a secret. How'd you put up with this jerk?
Wait, I can just fast travel to this? Now, are you
Can?
seeing this? It's saying I can.
What the fuck?
It's not gonna let me, right?
I don't know. Try. Try it. Oh, you say save, yeah. Probably gonna say no, hopefully. Are you kidding?
No, it didn't. It just put me back. It just put me back there.
Ah. Okay. That is...
What a troll.
Yeah, what? What? Jill's with his family.
Max is obsessed.
Gone. Jules is dead to me. Well, I guess kind of ended up being dead to me in the first game, and now it's even deader.
911, yes, hello. Oh, that's a fun noise. Oh yeah, that's good. It's the spot. I can't use my chocobo.
What? Is everything just not good at this point? Oh! My controller fell over.
Hold me back.
Think Aerith might need a break.
Sorry.
Shelter. Oh my god, Aerith, please.
Let's rest here.
But if we stop now, the materia... I mean, the mystery men might slip away.
Oh, did you go through here?
I'll go on ahead and scout the area.
Oh, there's nothing here.
Yeah, I tried. I tried parkouring, but like I couldn't get up there.
Catch up later, my ass.
Yeah,
Unless
there
I'm
doesn't
missing
seem
it.
to be anything.
Barrett's.
I know.
Doesn't even seem to be a chest here.
No need to rush.
Thanks. Will do.
I didn't find a chest, but maybe I am blind.
And I think we're both blind. There's nothing here. Give me the
Weapon.
game, please.
Weapon chest.
I thought
Materia.
you said women.
Oh yes, I love women.
It's like, women?
Why'd you made it sound like it was a monkey noise.
Yeah, that was.
Oh good.
I mean, we do go like, ooh, weapon, right?
Right.
Kinda. I will get changed back to my clothes. Hiking trail at Mount Corel.
Okay. Okay, well, whatever. Oh, do I have to level that up? Shit, let me...
Potentially.
I'm going to Wichita. Where is it? I don't see it. No, it's green. Oh, right here. No. Oh, I already have it. Okay. Okay. Alright, what is this? I don't have enough SP.
Aerith, that is weak. You can walk.
Think I can unlock anything?
Oh, weapon chest. Oh, beautiful streamer open chest. Favorite.
Hell yeah.
And a materia. Enervation. Question, what does that mean?
What is what? You know, I don't know. It's a good question. That'll be good.
Oh,
Okay.
it's for, oh, you can deprotect and de-shell enemies.
Hell yeah. Bring them out of their shell.
Yeah, it's like debuffs.
Okay, I already have everything here. It's probably a, what's it called coming up here? Also, I was able to sit at this bench for free, just so you know.
Yeah, I need to buy a few more cushions.
No, I didn't use one.
No, but I'm running
oh.
out. Even so.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I will save the game just to make sure I don't mess up anything.
Okay, I'll save too. I'll save too.
Okay, so we're at chapter 7, and there's 14 chapters total.
Okay. Come here, you.
Best do it right. Deal with that.
I'll take care of them. So long. This one's for you.
These ones are hard to stagger.
Sandog pie?
Yeah, yeah.
Don't know if I did it or if I failed, to be honest.
Oh, there's 2 ways to go. I guess I'll go this way first.
Just go the short way. See if there's anything at the stairs. Nope. And then I go the long way. Why is that mushroom? Oh, it's the penis one.
The what? Excuse me?
It's like a big mush.
That's wild.
Exploiting their elemental weakness will pressure them. There's so many good materials here as well.
Hell yeah. Heat Seeker, that's what you meant.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said, wasn't it?
Well, you just said penis thing. Penis mushroom.
Isn't that the same?
Chat, can we get a ruling?
Oh. I didn't think this would go
Ooh,
like
what is this?
that official. Find something nice?
Of course. 3 chunks of gold, apparently. Am I going the wrong way or the right way? I think I'm going the right way. Which is good. I mean bad. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
Idea.
Oh, okay, no, I'm going the right way.
A bloat float.
What are these?
Not assessed that one yet.
You sure you wanna fight?
Just like that, okay?
Wait, this goes back down. Okay. Okay. Heatseeker does look like a penis. Okay, well, there you have it.
Nice. I wasn't wrong. For once in my life.
Where the fuck is this going? Jesus Christ.
Well, that's a lot of items.
Take the lead.
So it's my turn?
Ruby?
I think we're almost done.
That'll do.
So many items. Holy shit. Guess I'll be transmuting some more.
Go on.
Red better be up here. You ready for a Pokemon battle?
Hell yeah, I am. Calling ice, he says. Cloud, when he uses Snow Flurry, says calling ice. And if you're not aware, ice stands for something in the US that is very, hot topic right now. No pun intended.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I've heard of it. I didn't connect what you were saying right away.
Yes.
Is it the like
It
removal
is.
of people?
Yes, it is immigration and customs enforcement. There's actually riots all over the country right now for against ICE.
Very understandable.
I think I went the wrong way. I think I'm climbing the mountain right. I think shit. I missed an area.
So we're
Hopefully-
heading into the mountain.
Yeah, hopefully I can go back, cause
One more shot.
Please give me some death.
Keep him away.
Wow, Cloud must be your favorite.
For you. How about we
That's wild.
get him? That's it.
Assessed, staggered, and weakness exploited. So not pressured. No, it's just instant killing it if I cast a spell.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that on normal mode. Damn it.
What's up here? Did I go this way already? Yeah, I did. Okay. I gotta turn around. I didn't either! Jesus Christ. I'm getting blamed for things that I did not do.
Oh, you played Mario Kart World. I blame you.
Great, actually. Could do this all day. It's
I did not. I don't have a Switch too.
You've become one with the mountain. Say what?
It's
What?
your...
Really? I did?
Brother, please. Go up.
Oh, wait.
Brother.
Hang on, hang on. It says on signs where the trail goes, so you can just, like, explore the other ways.
Yeah, I fucked up. I realized late what was happening. There were
I
signs.
just now figured it out. I saw a drawing that Yuffie made, but I didn't see any signs.
Yeah, I mean, the signs that Yuffie made should have been like, I just didn't realize that's what they were. Then I'm gonna be honest, I just saw the signs. I was like, oh, this place is like, this way is better or something. It's cooler, or maybe there's
Oh
secrets.
wait, what is this? It goes down. Purple materia?
What the fuck? I didn't find that.
It's just an MP up.
Oh,
And
okay,
it's
I
not
already
even
have that.
leveled.
So that's
No
not
XP.
important.
Not
Can I
really.
go this way? Is this the right way or the wrong way? God, I don't even know.
One of the ways.
I don't know because it goes up again. I don't know which way. This is the way that Yuffie wants me to go, though. No, I have to go this way. Yuffie wants me to go that way, so I need to go this way. She doesn't want me to go this way.
Oh, I found a chest. Oh, that was the gold dust you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Yuffie wants me to go up, so I say nay.
I think I just went a different way. I think they both go the same way.
Like, I could climb,
Yeah, okay.
but I want to explore.
It goes the same way for me. I'm so sad there's areas I didn't see. Anyways.
Oh, but it goes up here as well.
I tell ya, hikers these days ain't got no manners. You greet each other. It's
Oh, hello.
well, I'll be. Finally, folks who've got some manners. I don't get it. Tons of folks hiking up the mountain today, and not a one of them so much as nodded my way. Even tried calling out to a few sick-looking fellas all in black, and what did I get? Silence. Hikers these days never learn to greet each other or something.
Triple slash. Whoop.
I just talked to a person that was like, well, finally, someone said hi to me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like, all these people climbed the mountain and nobody said hi to me.
Isn't that kind of rude?
Yeah, I guess so. I got all these materials. Okay, finally, I can make something. You get all these materials, and none of them are the right material.
Oh, isn't it typical?
Yeah, I just want to level up my shit, but I can't ever do it. So I never have the materials I want, but I have, like, tons of, materials of the, like, the basic ones. This is a good one.
Oh, you're also level 9?
Hell yeah. This tropical paradise has no Midwest tourists? Yeah, I guess not. I went on a walk today, I had to say hi to like 3 different people.
Why?
Because they said hi first.
Is that a normal thing?
Yeah.
Just like you don't know people and it's just like hello.
Yeah, if you walk by them, you gotta say hi to them.
It's like people will look at you weird if you do that here.
Really?
Yeah.
My
Unless
people.
you like know them.
Gotcha.
I know, right? It's so nice to not having to deal with people you don't know. Like, I don't mind getting to know people because I have to get to know them, or if it's a friend of a friend. Or if it's at a place where you can, like, talk about your hobbies or just, like, chill and hang out with like-minded people. But when it's, like, at the bus, just out on the street, at a cafe, I don't want to talk to anyone else. Like,
yeah.
Please.
Yeah, don't talk to
This
me.
is my zone. You're in my personal space bubble. Get out.
How would you swap? Fuck.
I'll show you what I can do. One more shot. I'll put down ice.
I just wanna... Nope. Stop changing! Okay, finally.
Oh, I haven't started using the staff yet. Probably
Oh
should.
my god. Is there even any use for this currency?
God.
Not really. There isn't. I'm gonna be 100 with you. Just something for you to do, I guess.
Shield.
Hell yeah. Oh my god, Aerith's just getting...
Let the winds caress you.
So I managed to give a shield to all of my teammates.
Hell yeah.
This one's for you. How about you?
Alright, I mastered it.
Already? Nice.
Yeah.
Go for it. Taking over. Take the lead.
I'm coming.
Cross the water, get a chest.
One more shot. Go on.
That's a long ladder. Is that the right way?
This one's for you.
Nothing to it.
I think that, circles around. Damn, son. That is crazy. The conversion's crazy. I think I got everything over there.
But if it circles around, I still have to go there because I want the items.
Yeah.
I'm in a rush, so
Oh no, he's angry. You're not gonna like me when I'm angry. Oh, he's irate.
All done.
Make him not be that.
I subdued him.
Nice.
We were all Americans, connect with our fellow humans. I just feel obligated to do it because they do it to me. There's like people mowing the lawn and stuff. I had to acknowledge them and stuff. I guess it sounds bad when I say it like that. Listen. I just don't like meeting people's eyes. I don't like doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently I haven't used their...
I also am not a fan of that. Weapon ability mastered. That was real fast.
Yeah, apparently using fire and lightning in attack doesn't count as using the weakness, which is bullshit. I just want to say.
What? Firebolt Blade is so good though.
Apparently it doesn't count as a weakness for fire people that don't like the fire.
What?
Avenge Sevenfold in 2
Hey.
days? Damn, son, that's close.
2 days?
So when are you picking my mom up from the airport?
Yeah, and when are you picking up me? I would love to see them. Exams off.
Hell yeah.
That's rough. You know what? I'm really happy I don't have to deal with any more of that.
Not of acknowledgement. It's just exhausting. I just honestly want to get it over as soon as possible. Like I'll stare at them just to get it over with. Like look at my eyes, get the wave over it, and then I can ignore you for the rest of the time. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Hi Dag, how are you doing?
Hello, Dag.
Just do the finger wave. Oh shit. This doesn't look good.
Come on, out you go.
Pre-sale day 1. That's how I bought my Avril Lavigne tickets in the pre-sale too. They sold out quick. Withering Waves time.
Well, look who it is.
Gotcha time.
Gotcha time.
You here to pick a fight?
What? Oh, no. Just dropping off some unruly passengers. They were fine when we left Junon.
Doing your dailies in between studying? Fair enough.
Here we are.
I haven't played Infinity Nikki in like 3
One
days.
minute they were okay, and the next... whatever. This is way above my pay grade.
Max, I accidentally got
That's it?
promoted to Amethyst again. I hate when I get promoted to Amethyst.
Here.
Why?
Because I can't stay there. I don't play enough to stay there. So I'd rather just stay in my lane. Instead of constantly being like... I actually got 2nd place. And I didn't even have a quest or anything. I got like barely any XP, like 500 XP. And I got promoted.
Now play nice, shitbirds.
Alright. Battle time. Hey, when you get demoted and the animation plays, it vibrates your phone violently for 5 seconds. Nice.
Keep it together.
Here goes.
I did not like the Bagna Dragna fight.
I'm sorry, what was that?
This one's for you.
The blue beetles that attacked us on our way here. Like
Oh,
impervious to
yeah.
some of the physical attacks. Just
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't want to rely on magic when I have a big sword, you know. I can just like you know, hit them a few times, bonk them on their head with a like not the sharp end of it, but you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It takes forever when you can't like even hit them.
Go on.
Really does.
You can do it.
Take over. My turn. Go for it, guys.
What are you fighting?
A boss battle, I guess.
I'll be right there. I feel I have to be close.
Oh, fuck. Okay, I staggered it.
It's over. Make the most of it.
Wait. I swear I just healed.
Guessing this bench is free to use as well.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to get that zoo back. Eventual or in the capital, so that means I get to go to the geek store. Oh my god.
Geek store? Heck yeah.
We
Get
like.
all the manga.
Oh my god.
Get at least 2
Holy
volumes.
shit. Hell's Paradise? Oh!
Lena? Yeah, I get that kind of the purely physical experience of reading manga. So nice.
But I'm gonna
That's just
move. I'm gonna move. I don't want to do it because I'm gonna move. The experience is nice, but if you're ever gonna move, it's like it's tough, man.
Have a friend borrow them and then deliver it to your new place once they're done reading. Right? But when are you gonna move?
I'm gonna move states like within like 5 years.
Oh
probably.
shit. Oh, okay. Within 5 years.
Yeah, maybe. Or I could never move again. I don't know. We'll see. Wow! Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Alright, you're my only hope. Can I get my limit already?
You're still fighting it?
Yes. I got it.
Is it a long fight?
I'm probably just doing it. Oh, don't move east? Well, I'll probably be moving east. Kylan just doesn't want to be closer to me.
What
Stay
the
up.
fuck?
Wow. The only game I properly played the past couple of weeks is Mahjong. Just too busy studying.
What a team!
Guess the Turks are back on duty, huh?
It's gonna be a while though.
Wish they'd all go on vacation.
So I'm trying not to accumulate many things.
Come on. We need to find the others.
But I've been there's a manga that's paperback only right now. That I've been thinking about buying it, but I'm like, "Ah, but I don't want it. I don't want it in physical.
You don't want it in physical.
I don't because I don't want to move it.
Oh,
As you are aware, simultaneous energy spikes.
I'm caught up on Apothecary Diaries. Thanks for telling me about it. Being on the other day.
We found the spikes stemmed from the arrival of visitors, unfathomably large life forms.
Oh, is that a weapon?
Based on available information, it would seem so. They supposedly appear when the planet is in danger.
And each one carries an enormous orb of materia. More specifically, an orb from
I'm
the
not sure.
day cells were born. They are living enigmas, organisms dying to be understood. And finally, my dream of capturing.
I only ever see it on Twitter when they're going on a hiatus.
Oh, what I wouldn't give to peel one's flesh back, pull it apart.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
What makes it tick?
My brother got promoted at work, guys.
heck yeah.
Get what we want once that materia is out.
This is ridiculous.
Okay, Ascension should finish this fight.
When we're on the brink of creating the materia ourselves.
I'm aware of your efforts, but it would behoove us to obtain naturally occurring specimens.
What? It's not done?
Yes, it's long.
Put them in the
I need to
bathroom
fix
for
that.
all I care. Just leave me the carcasses. Those I'll take.
Can I get to use Red's limit as well then?
Hell yeah, get those.
I can. Howling Moon.
What is this really about?
The level 2 or at least bigger level limit.
Well, talk
Oh, I don't
Which you
have that
can
one.
unlock by using synergy abilities.
Oh.
You have to use a synergy ability that will level up your limit and then you can.
Mr. President.
I did it for both
Gotcha.
Cloud and Red.
There's a
Nice.
question I never had the chance to ask your father. Perhaps you could speak on his behalf. We used Avalanche's activities as a cover.
How long have we been going on for right now? 2.5 hours? Is
Yeah.
Your stream, but you started early.
I did. So we go the full 3, right?
Yeah, I just gotta find out how long have I been going.
2 hours and 20 minutes. Only
Oh,
15
okay,
minutes behind.
okay.
Great though he was,
I thought it was further behind.
my father was old,
No?
and in his dotage.
I started like 30 minutes early, but then you showed up like 15 minutes too, I think, or something like that.
But while we're on the subject,
Oh, okay.
there's something I've been meaning to ask all of you regarding those decisions. Why is it that none of you even tried?
Well, it finally happened, Cairo. He's a foreman now.
Damn, he will be making a lot of money.
We must break new ground.
Right?
Stronger.
More money?
Smarter.
For the area.
Adapt. Expand.
Are you elaborating to Neva how long he's been streaming for?
Support.
No, I'm answering his question. He asked a question. I wasn't elaborating.
I was unsure. Okay.
Only to the company, but to me.
I was very unsure. I didn't know. You know, I'm craving a snack, but I shouldn't.
What are your snack choices? So why shouldn't you? Just because you had a full meal, you can have a snack?
I had like more than a full meal. I had enough
True.
food for dinner for like 2 days.
Are you just bored? Are you just thirsty? Woo, the fuck?
Might be thirsty,
Oh,
but it's
no.
like down in the stomach. It's
Let me in.
craving it.
Are we swapping to Zach? I won't be able to go back.
Don't want to play Sack?
I won't be able to go back to the areas that I missed. Oh, shit.
Don't like Zack?
I just don't know this man's. Oh,
What?
why is she sleeping like that,
Ow.
dog? Who sleeps like this?
Did
Look at
haven't you
her.
played? Oh, you haven't played Crisis Core?
No, I haven't.
Why?
What do you mean why? Because we did this one first.
Yeah, I haven't played it either.
You haven't played it
You would
either?
know Zack. No, I haven't.
Oh my god.
I know Zack from Kingdom Hearts. He had a tiny role in one of the prequel games.
Elmira?
Zack, right?
Yeah.
Where is she?
Upstairs.
Zack has less armpit hair than I do right now. He's a clean-shaven man.
We can all look up to that.
Take her home.
Now slow down.
Clean shaven, very nice.
Shinra's got it staked out.
Not anymore. They have bigger things to worry about.
Nasty? What? Me having armpit hair?
And I can't leave.
What am I supposed to do? I shave it, the next day it's like back again. Like,
Yeah,
I do my best.
how it is.
But I'm
I
not.
think it's weird how it's more acceptable for men to just have a full forest under there.
And they'll, oh my god, and they'll be like
It's just
sweating,
nasty.
and
I
it'll
don't
just be like all moist and stuff. There's just like,
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
a head of
Oh.
hair down there, and it's just like drenched.
Oh, I hate that.
I want to start waxing my armpits, but I think I need.
I should too.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna get a different wax. Like right now, I'm using a sugar wax. I think I want a cold wax next.
I can do that much.
Armpit hair is stinky. Literally, it's not the hair that's stinky.
Oh, but
It's
it
the
is,
bacteria. It's the bacteria.
though. But it gets stuck to the hair, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It will get more smelly if you have hair. And when you heat that up with moisture as well, it will be even
Oh my
worse.
god.
Stankiest.
Somebody broke her legs.
You're okay.
It's the mob. The mob came for her. She probably owed them money.
Probably.
The kneecaps are gone. I've never waxed, and I'm scared of it. Like
It's
trying.
not bad.
Does it hurt?
No. It doesn't really hurt that much. It depends on where what you're pulling. There are spots that are more sensitive than others. The legs are the least sensitive part. So if you're starting with waxing, I would suggest starting with your legs and get used to it,
Alright.
and then do other spots.
Like
But,
my
like-
eyelashes.
Your eyelashes? Oh god. Oh god. Please no.
No, thank you.
I think for the most sensitive, it'd probably be on your face. Like the most sensitive hairs I would think would be your eyebrows, your nose hairs. And then
Would be
after
nice to
that,
have like
you probably okay.
shape the eyebrows with wax or something, but I would leave that to professionals.
I think plucking is easier. I mean, I guess if you have a lot of hair, then waxing would be easier, but I don't have like the thing about you can overpluck your eyebrows and then they won't grow back. So shaving is the safest.
She's gonna hate me for that.
Shaving's what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Shaving is the safest because if you fuck up, it'll just come back.
She'll understand.
Yeah, because as of right now, I'm happy with how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
But over like twice a week to just keep it from like growing too much.
Okay. Alright, I'm back to normal.
It's like, oh, you don't get to play Zack anymore?
We don't. No. It was just a second. I'm
Aw.
not sure if I should go back or what. But there's like no easy way to go back.
Then I'd suggest waiting.
Yeah. So it's this
Should
spot
didn't
right
have
here
to,
that I
like,
can do.
shave my face every day though. That's the most annoying part.
Yeah. Fla baby, get
Like,
your
if
fla baby.
I shaved yesterday, and after work today it was just like a scruffy mess. Like, I want that.
That's why I've been waxing my legs more, because I'm tired of shaving all the time. But, like...
Okay, maybe next week I'll try.
Yeah.
Because I shaved yesterday.
Hell yeah. You need, like, the hair to be a little bit... it can't be, like, really short. Because it won't grip.
So how'd recon?
Yeah.
But I think sugar wax is the cheapest, easiest wax to get into. And then a cold wax, you still heat it up, but you don't pull it off when it's like hot. You wait for it to harden and then you pull it up.
Sounds like very chill. You can like apply it, wait a bit, do something else, like if you're watching a show or something like that.
Yeah.
But would
The
you
only-
then cover your would you coat your entire leg in the wax and then just get it all? Or would you do like a spot at a time? I don't know. I'm asking dumb questions.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Sections is better, but the thing about cold wax is once you put it on, you're committed. Sugar wax, it's made out of sugar, so you can melt it off with water. But a regular wax, you cannot do that. Once you put it on, you're committed. You're pulling that shit off. So that's the thing. That's why sugar wax is a really good beginner-friendly wax, and that's what I started off with.
But
oh, this one.
I am committed to like just getting it off.
It just hurts a lot. depending on where.
Potentially, maybe I like pain.
Oh, we're finding stuff out.
I don't like pain at all. I hate hurting.
You know, there's a procedure that they do a lot in Asian countries. It's actually covered under insurance to have your sweat glands removed from your armpits.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing. No more smelly?
Yeah, so a lot of Asians don't have the sweat glands underneath their armpits. So, and they take body odor extremely seriously. In
of
Japan.
course they should. It smelled like this locker room. Holy fuck.
We've all smelled the men's locker room for junior high kids. You just like walk down a junior high kids like hallway in school and it would just reek, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's
and
bad.
Sometimes on a hot summer day you're sitting like anywhere, like there's park benches and someone just walks by and it's just oh.
I have a question. In junior high, did you take a quick shower after gym class? In junior high?
Why the interim?
Or high school, or wherever you had your gym class.
Behind us, the whole country's gonna come together and decide what kind of government we want.
This chat can answer too. Chat can answer too.
Everything we can to make sure the interim.
I have to think. I don't think we did. We didn't have much time in between classes.
Normal
But
people don't
after
take gym
swimming,
showers?
We did.
After swimming, okay. We didn't have swimming, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, not a single girl ever showered after gym at my school, ever.
Was it stanky?
No, I mean, girls don't sweat, of course, so.
No, obviously, yeah. How could I forget?
Yeah. So many random boxes to unbox.
Oh, I know this place.
Me with me.
The Corel Mako reactor, of course.
Oh, okay. Follow Yuffie. Follow Yuffie. Few of my classmates have showered after gym class a couple of times.
So, all that stuff down there is Mako?
Nobody used the showers because there wasn't stalls.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Prison
No
rules
stalls.
showers.
Prison rule showers, like you have 10 showers lined up next to each
Yeah.
other, or 5 on one side of the wall, 5 on the other side of the room, I guess. And there you are, just, you know, showing off everything to everyone. Not a fan.
Not enough water on Barrett. Immersion ruined. He got hit with water, but he looks completely dry. He should have drips on his chest. Oh my god. Pyro requested get lucky.
You don't want to get lucky in the locker rooms.
You don't?
You get sweaty in front of so many people, and then just, hey. It just sounds like a porn.
Yeah.
New fish. We'll keep moving.
If a school has showers, it's bigger showers without stalls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you? I've never seen a school with shower stalls.
It should be mandatory to have stalls, please.
It would be nicer in case someone wanted to. Right, right.
Stall built
It
around the
doesn't-
showers.
It doesn't even have to have a door. Like, as long as there's, like you could have a private shower, like, if you were the only one in the shower. You know?
Yeah, just separated.
Yeah, from the rest of the locker room. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be light walls, as long as you can lock the door and just, like, lock it from the inside.
Do you?
Ah.
Just the metal ASMR. Some of my friends practice sports, and the entire team just goes in the showers and has gay sex before they shower as a regular practice. Oh, okay. Happy for them. Team bonding.
Very nice.
That's just team bonding, right?
I mean, a team have never been closer than that team.
In reality, there's no gay sex, but they do shower together. Okay.
Now you made the story boring.
Yeah. The heck? I want my money back.
You go and fix that right now, Cairo, please.
We're all Mexican. You know, I really don't like Pharrell Williams that much.
You're done.
There's not a single song that Pharrell Williams sings that I am a fan of.
Not even happy.
I'll sneak it into the rulebook when they're not looking. Thanks. No, not happy. Honestly, is
Nice
the
vote.
worst one. This one's better. The Get Lucky one is better because of Daft Punk.
I mean, obviously, Daft Punk is amazing, or was amazing.
Damn, was shit.
They split up.
They split up. Shit, I didn't even know.
Yeah, it's like several years ago now.
Wow. I can't. I'm devastated, honestly. We're all Mexican. Ah. I only like Get Lucky. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Dead end?
For now, can't cross till we lower it.
Well, this sucks.
What?
Ran out of samples on their 80s keyboard, so they couldn't make any new music.
You know
Damn.
this area,
Damn.
don't you?
Control room's up there. At the top of the cliff.
How do we reach it?
Through the mine. Won't be a walk in the park, though. Place has been abandoned.
Okay, I only have one more drink left. I'm not one of 3 right now. Oh shit.
3 out of.
I wanna go home. I wanna go home. Alan. Work been Monday today for you? Just being Mondays.
Monday.
You know, Jagan didn't say if it was a good day for a Monday or just a regular Monday. I'm thrown off
that's
now.
True. It might have been a bad day for a Monday.
Maybe. Maybe he didn't want to bring down the atmosphere.
Perhaps the Mako got to him. Regardless, he's clearly tired.
I hope not. We kind of need that to like breathe.
A couple of us go and lower the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Works for me.
When that thing leaves, you'll know we're done. And you, don't move till you're good and ready.
Alright.
I think my skin is dry. I need to moisturize better. I always forget.
Same.
Like after my shower.
Alan want to go home
I wanna go home.
and go home. No matter what they say, just be able to go home is nice. Oh. Enemies? Oh. Easy enemies.
Good on Mega Potion.
Mega. Oh man.
Thank you for the song request.
Is it a good song request?
I think I know this band. I think I know the band that was requested. The song that I'm listening to now, he requested, is a Dark Souls song. So it's mostly instrumental.
Very nice.
Okay, do I have? Okay, good. It's a symphonic metal cover of Dark Souls song Candy Please. I mean, it was
wrong.
close. Thank you, Neva. I appreciate that. I got a gold needle.
Did you eat it?
I did not eat it.
We're gonna have to power it on first.
Good.
XW. Ooh, weapon chest.
Gotta use that grappling hook. Shouldn't be a problem for you, right?
None at all.
Get to play as
Good lord.
Yuffie. Let's go.
Oh,
There's a
fuck.
sale on mega potions. Might as well.
Hell yeah, we love a good sale. Twin Viper. Wait, she had a weapon already that I didn't. Fuck. Fuck. She had a weapon already that I didn't upgrade. You
Really?
see? Yeah, at least me. I just got another one, but there's another one that I didn't do.
The 4-point shuriken?
33, Cairo. 33, please.
The elemental
33, my lord.
ninjutsu is so nice.
Yeah, I got that
Like-
one. It was the Savage Dagger that I didn't have done.
Oh, blindside is also nice. How I use Yuffie in fights is I throw the weapon, so all of my regular attacks become ranged. I use
Oh.
elemental ninjutsu, so all of the attacks are ranged elemental, and when I build up for an ATB charge, I just use the blindside. It deals so much damage.
Alright. That's 33? Alright, thank you. Is this just songs off your, like, playlist or something? Bruce Dickinson? Tears of the Dragon. You a Bruce Dickinson fan?
Vocalist of Iron Maiden.
Oh.
From 1982 to 1990, and then once more from 2000, I believe, and current vocalist of Iron Maiden.
Damn, shit.
I might know a little bit of Iron Maiden.
Well, I'm
Slightly.
impressed. Okay.
7,029.
That's not between.
I just want to see what you do with that information, Cairo.
That was cheating.
Hey, when am I not cheating?
Oh
If it's
my
cheatable,
God.
I cheat. I'll say the first time I played through this game, I never managed to do the gym minigame or the like shooting gallery minigame.
Hell yeah.
So today has been a good day.
We're gonna get you to platinum this. Easy.
Oh, I gotta play through hard mode. I don't want that.
We got this. Remember when you were gonna platinum the first one?
Yeah, that's easier to do than this one.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, you don't
I
know
doubt
what's
it.
going on.
X for doubt.
Oh, okay, how about we both do both of the games?
Yeah, sure.
When do we
If
do
we run
hard
out.
mode for... If we run out.
Yeah, if we run out of Final Fantasies, we'll do that. We'll do that.
It's not gonna happen. We're going to be 70.
No. I'm sure it'll happen.
729. Okay. There's only 10 minutes left of the stream.
Oh my god. We're not gonna be out of this area.
No.
We're gonna have to stop in the middle of this area. Go. Go, bitch, go.
I like this area though. It's like kind of puzzly.
Yeah. Whee!
Gonna need someone to unlock this thing from the control unit upstairs.
Can you? If I have to.
Don't I go this way? Where do I go? Am I dumb?
Nah, wouldn't say that. Area looks great in 144p. Do you think Connie can afford to improve Cairo's internet now?
Probably not. Why am I dumb?
I don't know.
Have you figured it out? Yeah? Oh! I see it! I see it! No! No! Is this a triangle? Or is that just a box? No! Okay, there we go! I found it. I figured it out.
Are we
Holy shit.
doing the exact same thing?
Yes! Yes, we are.
It's... Oh, you're gonna be disappointed.
Is this not the whole thing?
No,
Oh!
it
Oh, I
was
see it.
Just for the chest.
No, 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 it's not! It's not just for the chest. This is how you go up. He tried lying to me. Look at what Neva did to me. He tried lying to me.
Oh shit. I thought it was correct.
These lies. Don't believe Ondor's lies. I'm
Ondor's
Bosch von
lies?
Bismarck.
Is that a Star Wars reference?
No.
And I don't know.
We really need to get to Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah, why don't we just play that right now? Put this on hold.
Yeah, we'll come back in like 6 months. If that, 8 months. 9 months. Let's just say 9 months, like a baby.
Exactly.
Kanye should get his ass over here and install Optic. Really, honestly. Let's bring them up.
Yeah. Why are you not doing that, Kanye? Come on. Do it. Am I getting a Kiss cover?
Interesting.
I was made for loving you, but Youngblood?
Youngblood? Oh, okay.
I didn't
like
know he
Youngblood.
made a cover of fucking Kiss. It sounds awesome.
It's probably, yeah, probably not bad. He's kind of got a gruff voice, so I can see it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Windstorm. Holy shit, what the fuck? The hell is this?
A windstorm?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh!
Shit.
Yeah, Yuffie's so strong.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Do I want to go that way already? I can't hit that. No, I need to go this way. Cairo is asking, Neva, what are your thoughts on King Crimson?
That's a stand, right?
Oh!
Right?
I don't know, but holy
stand
shit.
in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 5.
Ooh. I see. Among other things.
Yeah, I will say I haven't listened much to King Crimson. Don't really know it.
Oh my god. Can't believe you.
Sorry, I'm not a true music listener.
I think, yes, correct.
I'm a Baker Daker.
Indeed.
Did you get the chest down the ladder here?
Oh! I didn't know I could get it. Thank you. It looked like I couldn't.
Got some exquisite beast hides.
Nice. Okay, go back up. Guess I missed this ladder. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. We're in this together.
I appreciate. The court of the Crimson King is Pharaoh's favorite. There's so many Moogle medals.
Heck yeah. Bloodbath time.
I think I need
there's
the
adventure. That's a perfect time to like rest.
Hell yeah. I think I need the pervert sound from Bob's Burgers. I think that's where it's from.
Oh.
Because everyone be calling me a pervert. God damn it.
For no reason.
For no reason indeed. I know I could hit that. Son of a bitch. Look at that beautiful
I'm saving
chicken.
the game here.
Oh, okay.
$31.5 hours.
Woo! You have a whole hour more than me.
I think I've just like let it stay on for a bit after stream a few times. Maybe like 10 minutes tops while like doing other stuff. Or just not turning off the PlayStation.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think if I get a Steam Deck, and if anyone calls me a pervert, I would bind that sound. I would just bind that sound, and anytime someone called me a pervert, I would just hit it. I think
Do
that
it.
would be. I don't have a Steam Deck though. I do have my function keys though. I could maybe. I don't know if I could. There's a launch or. What do we got live?
Wait, there's a new version of the system software. Update and turn off, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Alright. I lost connection. Oh shit. Who'da thunk? Alright,
Nope.
bye bye stream. Thanks for
Oh my
today.
god, my stream. Thank you for your internet turning back on.
Oh yeah. Oh my god,
Where?
Kara's got people playing Final Fantasy.
Oh my god, who is it? Dead game.
Game.
It
Wait,
is
what was that
dead.
a reply to?
Remember when we used to play Stardew?
Oh, Stardew. When did you play Stardew last?
It's been a while. It's been a really long
Uh-oh.
time.
Oh no.
Oh my god. Cairo is trolling me. I'm being trolled. Kanye dumped us? He did. Neva,
Oh my god.
what are we looking at next Monday? The 23rd?
Monday's good for me. Yes.
Okay. Let me put this in my thingy before I do anything else. Say, okay, you're penciled in for next week. I'm excited to get for the like I've been excited for this game every single week lately. I think more
Yeah, it's
excited
good.
than any of the other Final Fantasies.
Because it looks good. It's so much more fun playing this one compared to some of the others we've been through.
Someone playing Pokemon? What Pokemon? Final Fantasy with Kanye? Are you gonna play this
That's a long
weekend?
time ago.
Yeah. Scarlet Violet? I'll take a look.
Oh, Scarlet Violet? Well, I'm pretty if you played Scarlet Violet on the Switch too, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been seeing that the frame rates uh are better. The things move well in the background now. I can't ask him until the day before. I can't expect a reliable answer. Tino VTuber. Let's take a look, shall we? Sure, we can host somebody new. All right. These BFFs with jacket. Alright, got it. Alrighty, stream. I will see you Wednesday. Bye.
All right.